Let's talk about closing. One of the biggest mistakes that I see guys make over and over again is they are closing by accident. They're not closing on purpose because they don't really have a game plan. They don't know what they're doing. And so essentially their game plan becomes arouse the girl, turn her on, and cross their fingers and hope. And that's okay, you can get laid that way, but it's not consistent, it's not predictable, it's hard to learn from. And also when you do get laid, it's going to be a situation where you're pushing and pushing and pushing, and then eventually the girl just kind of like gives in and it's like, okay, I guess I'm aroused, you can fuck me now. She's never really chasing you, so you never really have the ball in your court. So I want to talk to you a bit about how to do how to orchestrate your set from the very start so that she's chasing you and so that you've set up the pull properly. And there are really a few elements to this. The first element is screening the girl, making sure that she's the right girl, that she has the right logistics, the situation can actually work. Second one is how to seed the pull, how to set it up so that there's a game plan and there's an idea of what you're going to do, and you're kind of in control and you're leading it, but you're leading it in a way where you're not giving up your power. Because most guys, if they're trying so hard to pull, they become very pushy, and then they hit a lot of no, 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 and then the set goes badly. So how to set up the pull without hearing no. And then thirdly, we'll talk about how to actually pull and what kind of game plans are effective and what kind of game plans aren't. And then we might get into some last minute resistance stuff if we have time. I don't know how long I'll go with all the pulling. So that's kind of the game plan for this webinar. And then at the end, I will take some questions. Mario, I know you're listening in. You may have to help me with how to take questions when the time comes, because I actually don't know how to do that on the software. So when that time comes, I may need your help. Okay, so let's talk about all those different factors. The first factor that I'm going to talk about is screening. Basically, there are 3 things that you want to be screening for with a girl in deciding whether to take her home. When you get good enough at game, your biggest issue will be sort of like pulling the wrong girl or investing your time with the wrong girl. Because you're going to get to a point where you're good enough that you're going to have girls into you, girls ready to make out with you, girls ready to even go home with you almost every night. But excuse me, but you need to make sure that you choose the right one where it's actually going to go down, and also the one that's of high enough quality that you're going to be happy with it. So the 3 things you want to screen is, number 1, how hot is she? Number 2, how down to fuck is she? And number 3, like, what are her logistics and what's her situation? And you want ideally all 3 of these to be good, but at a minimum, my criteria is I want 2 of them to be good. So, for example, if a girl's really, really hot and really, really down, but the logistics kind of suck, well, I might stay in that case and try and just like figure out the logistics, and then maybe I'll end up in like a bad situation. I'll end up like following them home in their taxi and trying to make it work because I've determined that it's worth it. Or maybe the girl's, she's just like hot enough, but she, she just moved to town, she is staying right next to the club, her friends she barely knows, and she's like fully down to party, and from the first moment her eyes lit up and she's like, oh my god, I love you. Well, in that case, it's like, it's pretty much a layup, and she's cute enough, so fuck it, we'll go with it. So you're looking at all these different scenarios. The scenario you don't want is where a couple of these factors are against you, or where one of these factors is so against you it's insurmountable. So obviously the is she hot enough criteria, that's pretty obvious. That's just, your own personal preference. I'll go kind of look into that third when we're rounding it all out, but that one's pretty self-explanatory. Second one, who is she there with? What are her logistics? That's really pretty key, and that's where a lot of guys mess up. So things to factor in. How close to the club is she? Is she staying nearby? Is she staying far away? If she's staying nearby, that's good. If she's staying far away, that's less good, but not necessarily bad, because you can always go to your place. And in fact, you should ideally be going to your place. So if you have a good game plan, that shouldn't matter that much. Who is she there with? That's absolutely key. If she's there with friends she barely knows, friends she can leave, friends where they won't watch her too closely, then you're in good shape. If she's there with friends that she has known for her whole life, and she's from a small town, and she's never traveled, well then now she's in a situation where she's very likely to be judged for going home with you. So in that case, it's going to be a big uphill battle, and it may be a situation that's just not possible. So be looking for that. The other big one is like if she's with family. A lot of times that can be very protective, especially if she's with male family members. So that's a big big kind of deal breaker. If it's kind of close call and then she's like with her brother, Well, unless the brother's real cool with you or real negligent, it's going to be tough. A good way to test is screen out these things. Ask, who are you here with? How do you know each other? Are you guys partying hard tonight? That kind of stuff. That's really good. But in general, better than verbal information is always action information. So the next thing you want to be doing is testing. Okay. So the big test is, will she leave her group in the club? And you want to baby step it. With everything regarding a poll, you want to baby step it. It's very hard to get a girl to say out of nowhere, like from we're just talking to yes, I'll go home with you. That's not very likely to happen. But what is very likely to happen is we're just talking to my feet are tired. Do you want to just sit down here? Actually, let's just go on a quick tour. Let's grab a drink. Actually, there's this cool place I want to show you. It's right outside. Actually, just come with me for another drink real fast here. You know what? We'll be back in 5 minutes, and then it goes from there. So you want to baby step it little by little, because saying yes to all the little baby steps is easy. Saying yes to the big step of I'll go home with you is very difficult. So you want to try and avoid that. But baby step it within the club. Find out if she can move 5 feet away from her friends. Find out if she'll sit away from her friends without them coming and interfering in the conversation, or if they'll immediately close your isolation. So test for it. And test for it early on. There's this whole idea of like a front door rule and like walk out the door with the girl, and that's useful to a point, and it's especially useful in cities where the clubs close relatively early in the night, like say like a city like Los Angeles, where everything closes around 2. That's very useful because you know everything's closing and there's a lot of night left. But in a city like Vegas, where it goes till 4, and even then it's not really over, or New York's 4, or some of the cities in Europe I know go to like even 6 in the morning or even later. So in those kind of cities, front door rule kind of sucks, especially if you meet a girl early in the night. Then you're like, oh, I have to wait 6 hours to pull her. That's you don't want to deal with that. So you want to be setting it up ahead of time, and you want to be seeding out the ideas and actively moving it forward instead of waiting for something to happen. So calibrate that as well. But you want to be, again, taking baby steps towards whatever situation you're going at. Big factors in terms of screening the girls like down to fuckness in terms of the girl herself. There's two factors. This is going into the third area, which is how down she is. There's 2 factors. One is how down she is for you, and the other is how down she is for just like hooking up or one-night stands in general. How down she is for you, you should be able to tell based on like the reactions in her eyes, how much she's qualifying herself to you, how much she's not how much she's getting physical necessarily, but how much she's participating in the physicality. So for example, making out with a girl where you're forcing the makeout, in my mind, is less good than if you're holding hands, but she's the one doing the hand holding and she's the one leading and instigating. I care much less about how much escalation is going on and much more about where the escalation is coming from and what the motivation is. But if she's a participant in the motivation, participant in the escalation, she's being active, then I would definitely think of that as a very, very positive thing. So that's how you tell where she's at with you. Also, if she accepts your frames and goes along with you, or when you lead, if she seems compliant. Obviously, if she compliments you, tells you how funny you are, how cute you are, how amazing you are, that's all really good too. So that's what you're looking for in that regard. But then the other one is, how down is she for a one-night stand? And that has to do with a bit of her culture and a bit of her upbringing and her history. A girl who's had a lot of one-night stands before is more likely to have a one-night stand than a girl who never has. That's a fair assumption, I think. So you want to look at the situations in her life that could have led to one-night stands, because it's a little cheesy and a little overly obvious to be like, do you have a lot of one-night stands? Right? That's a big red flag for a girl to be like, wait, what's going on here? You don't want to, in trying to seed the poll, trying to take a girl home, you don't want to be that obvious, and you don't want to make it her fault. If you say, do you have a lot of one-night stands, and she says yes and then goes with you, it's her fault that she went home and fucked you. Whereas if you're just like, I want to show you this cool place, let's hang out, and then she goes with you, it's not her fault. So you're in a better situation. So screening on like, do you have one-night stands directly is not such a good plan. So what you want to do is you want to do it indirectly. And for this, I want to tell you kind of a quick story, which is the online dating site OkCupid. They did a test one time because they have all these like personality questions. And what they did is they correlated with the question, would you consider having sex on a first date? They wanted to find the non-sexual question that was the closest, like most correlated to would you have sex on a first date. And the question it ended up being, out of all the questions they asked as their personality profile, was, do you enjoy the taste of beer? And that's interesting, but it leads to the right type of question, which is, questions that are about sexual topics, but not about sex. So things like drugs, alcohol, tattoos, partying, types of music, those sorts of things. The other one that's big is travel. Because when a girl has traveled a lot, it means that she's been outside of her small community, she's been outside of the realm where she's judged. And so she's had opportunities where she could do some scandalous things, or she could go with a guy and it wouldn't be a big consequence, so she could get away with it. Even bigger than just travel would be, have you traveled alone? And that is, do you make your own decisions? Are you willing to leave your friends? Are you willing to take risks? That sort of thing. So those are other things you want to screen on. So I guess the optimal scenario would be a girl who loves the taste of beer, loves to party, says things like, we're just having a fun night, whatever happens, happens, I don't want to be too serious tonight, has traveled the world a lot, is with friends who she barely knows, and is like very on with you. That's the ideal scenario. The worst scenario obviously would be the girl who doesn't even give you the time of day. But within the realms of a girl who is already liking you, the worst scenario would be, I'm here with my family, we live far away, I drove them, some of them are drunk and I'm going to have to get them home, and I've lived in the same tiny community my whole life. So those are kind of the polar differences. Obviously, whatever you're going to run into in the real world is going to be somewhere in between, but you want to kind of be aware of the two. Okay, so this is that kind of takes care of screening. That's what you're looking for. And then, again, you want to be testing the screening with little moves along the way. And don't give up just because the screening's bad, but be a little harsher on the test. So if it looks bad, it's the situation where she's with family and it doesn't look good, but she seems really into you, well, then I'd try and isolate her a little bit and see what happens. And if immediately the family all comes rushing to her aid to save her from the mean, naughty boy, then in that case, I might give up and say, okay, fine, on to the next. I'll take a phone number and follow up later. But if everything's against you, but you're able to isolate and things look good, well, just go with it, because actions speak louder than words. Okay, so that's the first part of polling, which is screening. The next part, and this is the part where I think I've really made some enormous strides in sort of pickup theory since I've come to Vegas. And I have to give credit on this. A lot of these ideas came originally from Ryan, who's a former instructor of ours, so I always give credit where it's due. But he came up with the idea of seeding the poll years ago, and then he's taken it to new levels, and I've taken it to, I think, some new levels in Vegas. The big thing you want to do here is you want to set up the move in such a way that it's not obvious and it's not needy, but where you get all the necessary information. So you need to communicate information. You need to figure out the logistics, because there are certain times when a girl may want to go with you, but she has to be back to her friends at a certain time because they have a plan. You need to find that information out so you can see the situation you're dealing with. But it's hard to find that information out by asking directly, again, because it makes her feel slutty. So if you're like, how long do we have to go fuck? That's not exactly a smart question. So you need to feel it out in different ways. And the best way I've found to do it is to bring everything up in the negative. So there's a few things you're going to do. You're going to start suggesting ideas, but you're going to suggest them as things that you can't do. Secondly, you're going to start giving excuses and objections before she does. Because any objection that you say first, that kind of takes the objection off the table for her. Julian calls this covering the exits. But that's the second thing you want to do. So how I would start seeding a poll would look perhaps here's a few examples. I might say, you know what, I really it's really kind of cool talking to you. I didn't think I was going to get along with you at first, but I'm really kind of enjoying it. There's one place I would love to take you, but actually never mind, I don't know you that well yet, forget it. Right? And then change the subject and go back to normal conversation and don't make a big deal out of it. And then kind of gauge her reaction. If she's immediately like, oh, what were you thinking of? What's this place? It sounds cool, it sounds interesting. That's a pretty good response. If she says, no, we can't go anywhere, that's a pretty negative response. No, by the way, doesn't mean no, though. It means not yet. And that would mean look at the other factors. Look at the screening and see if things are in your favor. If things are strongly in your favor, but you got the early no, then I'd say stick it out, put in more time, and try for another go. If all the screening's massively against you and you got the no, it may be time to cut your losses. Excuse me. Cut your losses, get a phone number, follow up that way, and then go pull a different girl. There are a lot of girls that may not be pullable same night, but will be gettable on a day two through a phone number because of logistics or whatever. So don't close off to that option either, but do know that there are certain girls that probably are a waste of time any given night. Okay, so you're setting up this idea, you're putting it out there in advance, and you're probably going to set it up like a few different times even. Right, you mentioned, oh, you know what, it'd be cool to do this, but we can't even do that. I'm like, you know what, maybe we'll do that in like 45 more minutes, but I'm not doing that yet. Another big one I do is I'll say, I'll seed it, and I'll say, I would love to do this with you, but the thing is, like, I just got here, I still want to party, so let's just take our time and get to know each other, that sort of thing. Meanwhile, along with this, on the side, I'm saying other things like, you know, I think you're really cool, but look, we can flirt, we can have fun, but I just don't want to have the sex tonight. Right, that sort of thing. That's a pretty blatant one, but you're conveying that message in various ways, right? Or another one I'll do is, are you guys aware of sexual misinterpretation? Basically, sexual misinterpretation means you take these bland, innocuous, normal, boring statements, and you turn all of them sexual all the time. But what I do is I do sexual misinterpretation in the negative. So sexual misinterpretation would be like if she says like, oh, it's hot in here, it'd be like, yeah, or no, if she's like referring to the weather, she's like, it's hot, it'd be like, oh, thank you, I appreciate that, right? That's sexual misinterpretation. That's also misinterpreting things as a compliment. But what I would do is I'd take it a step further. I'd be like, yeah, I know I'm hot, but like, don't get any ideas, nothing's gonna happen between us, which is a little obnoxious. And at first she'll be like, especially if it's early in the conversation, she'll be like, no, obviously not, what are you talking about, right? But you're doing two things. Number one, you're planting the seed that something could happen, whether she rejects it or not. But number two, you're making it your objection. And a lot of times if you say something like that, you say like, you know, da-da-da-da-da, but nothing's going to happen between us, she'll be like, of course not. And a lot of guys will then get reactive. They'll think, oh, every time I bring up the objections in the negative, she just has the objections too, and it doesn't work for me. Well, that's fine. It doesn't matter. What you got to do there is just go along with it. You can't do this in just a gimmicky way where you think you'll just throw out like one little line and then all of a sudden like she's gonna pull with you. It's built on the trend that you have the whole set and the overall vibe. So if you say the whole, yeah, I know I'm hot, but nothing can happen between us, don't get any ideas, and she goes, of course not, I would never do that, I'd be like, thank you, I'm so glad you said that. Like, now we can just hang out and chat, and I don't have to, like, worry about this. I feel so much more comfortable with you now, thank you, right? And really play it all the way and be genuine. And you want to have faith in yourself that once you do get the girl home, once you do get the girl in a one-on-one situation, that you know how to escalate and that you'll manage. Have faith in your future self. Okay, don't worry about being put in the friend zone or anything like that. Deal with that as it comes. But if you're one-on-one with a girl in a room, you're going to escalate and you won't be put in the friend zone. You'll be put in the, like, either the I had sex with him zone or the, like, creepy guy zone. So don't worry about that. Okay, so you're seating the poll, you're setting this stuff up, and then eventually you're going to have to pull the trigger. So what you're looking for now is you're looking for these different signs of her going along with what you're saying, her agreeing with you, her developing some sort of interest or intrigue in what you're saying, her maybe even bringing the conversation topic back up when you try and cut it off. Those are all really good things. Also, if she seems devalidated by the fact that you won't take her with you, and she's like, why can't I go with you? That's really pretty ideal, because then you can do it in a positive way. So to illustrate the next part, I'm going to kind of give you an example. This is how I run my day twos currently when I'm here at the Vegas Immersion program. So Vegas Immersion, we have condos that are basically a block and a half away from the Strip in Las Vegas, Nevada. So it's a really good location. And so what I'll do is I invite the girls out to a casino bar that's just off the Strip. And I'll have them meet me there, and it's like half a block from where I live. So I'll just meet them for a quick drink there. And my plan is one drink and then home for sex, basically. And that works out a good portion of the time. So the way I'll do it is I'll get there, start with a normal conversation. I will very early on start doing misinterpretation, start making things sexual, etc. But at the same time, being a cool guy, being not needy, all those kind of things. Then what I will start to do is what I told you before, which is I'll say, oh yeah, I'd love to do this with you, but we can't. What I usually do for that, a lot of times I do my dates on Tuesdays. That's a common day for dates. I have improv comedy with the immersion guys on Tuesdays. So what I will do is I will say, oh yeah, I would, actually, how adventurous are you? And that's a very good question, by the way. How adventurous are you? Because it's a good screening question for how down they are for things, but it's also vague enough that they don't feel slutty about it. So that's a good one. So how adventurous are you? And if they seem a little nervous about it but intrigued, or if they seem just completely intrigued, either one, then I'll tell them that, yeah, I have improvisational comedy class. I'll ask, like, you know, if we were to get on stage and make fools of ourselves, would they be cool with it? Would they be down? And most of the time, they're a little nervous about it and they're not sure. Sometimes they're excited, but most of the time they're not sure. And then I'll be like, oh, well, you know, if we go, then we'll just check it out. I may have to pop back, though, at some point just to check in really fast, but I'm really enjoying talking to you. So we'll hang out for a bit more, and then if I have to pop back, maybe I'll pop back and send you home, or maybe you can come. Actually, you know what? You probably shouldn't come. I just met you. This is my work. Never mind. I don't know why I brought that up. Right, so I'm saying these kind of things, again, where I'm putting it out there, but I'm putting it out there in the negative. So what I'll do is I'll screen that a few times, and then I'll keep cutting it out and just going back to normal conversation, just forgetting it exists. And then spending my time actually running a good day, having a good vibe, getting the girl to chase me in different ways, getting her to qualify, all the normal game stuff. And then I'll bring it up again, and then, you know, bat it away again, bring it up again, bat it away again. And then eventually, I'll be like, you know what? Look, I'm enjoying you. Improv's going. I need to get back. Fuck it, just come with me. But like, let's go now before I change my mind. Let's just do this. Who cares, right? And then I get up and I walk, and I don't wait for an answer. I don't need like her compliance on. I don't need her to say yes or no. I just do it, right? Jeff has this line in pulling. He says "sco." Okay, it's not "let's go." It's "sco." It's so much of a foregone conclusion, he doesn't even use two words for it. It's just SCO. So that's essentially what I'm doing there is I'm doing SCO, right? And I'm also putting it in the frame of she's won. Instead of it looking like I won because I got her home and she's resisting, it's in the frame of she won by finally getting me to be okay with taking her with me. The next step I do, and this is something you can't duplicate, but it's pretty smart, so I want to like kind of throw it out there, is I have my assistant. I will text him. I actually have a few assistants, so I'll text him, find out who's home. And then whatever assistant's home, I'll text them. I'll be like, whatever I ask you, just say that improv, quote, just finished. So then we'll go over and I'll go back, instead of going to like my place, I'll go knock on like my intern's door, or my intern or my assistant's door. And then I'll go in and I'll be like, hey, oh, is improv done? I wanted to come see the end of it. And I'll be like, yeah, I just finished. You just missed it. Like, oh, was it any good? How was it? Were the guys happy? That kind of thing. And so then he'll say, you know, oh yeah, it was good. It went well. Da 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 da. Here's some other stuff. And then I'll just talk to about some unrelated work stuff. I'll just bring up whatever topic where we happen to be dealing with. If it's a new idea for like what to do with the guys, or some new camera technique, or some video we're working on, whatever it is. I'll just talk to him for a little bit so it looks like a business thing. And like, oh hey, by the way, can I pick up that camera? So then I'll grab whatever piece of like that camera, or that hard drive, or that battery, whatever it is. I'll pick up whatever piece of video or audio equipment that I can, and I'll use that as the excuse to go back to my room. I'll be like, yeah, I have to run this up. I'll just throw that on my computer. I'll be right back. And so I'll go up with the girl, the camera, plug it into my computer, and then like while that's working, that gives me 10 or 15 minutes just with me and the girl in my place. I've already been on the date with her for about, you know, maybe an hour at this point in total. She likes me, we're back at my place, and then I'll just chill out. I'll be like, hey, as long as this is loading, you want to just check out the view and talk for a minute, and then I just like basically run it from there back at my place and have sex the vast majority of the time. Okay, so let's break that down though. What was going on? The whole way, it was all like one thing led to another. There was a natural reason for it to happen. There wasn't like some kind of forced, contrived, I want to do something with you vibe. And it was all like, we're having fun together, we want to hang out, it's just happening. All right, here's something I got from Jeff. It's actually from one of the videos that was in his hot seat years and years ago. But it was like the best line for a pull that I've ever heard, like the best philosophy for pulling. And it was this. He said, oh, he'd seeded this because he's very smart. He'd seeded it as well. He'd said like, there's something I want to tell you later, or like that I want to make you a deal later. And so then she got curious and then brought it up again later in conversation. Said, hey, what was that deal you were talking about? He said, oh, that. Yeah, so I'm going to take you somewhere lovely that you will love. And if you don't, well, then you can go home. It doesn't really matter either way because I'm having a good time, and that's all that really matters, right? Okay, now let's break that down because that's really good. So he says, we'll take you somewhere lovely that you will love. So it's going to be a positive place. Much easier to invite a girl to a positive place than a negative place. Instead of saying, I'll take you to my dungeon where there will be pain, right? I'll take you somewhere lovely that you will love. Now here's where it gets real smart. And if you don't love it, well then you can go home. I usually say then you can leave, but either way, he says, well then you can go home. And then the last part, and it doesn't really matter either way, because I'm having a good time and that's what really matters, right? Okay, that's key too, because it's saying, I'm not in this for an objective. I'm not in this to try and have sex with you. I don't care if that's even the outcome. I just want to have a good time. All right? It's all about the experience, not the result. Okay? Another line from Julian is that sex is like a movie for a girl. And the climate, or like, sorry, a date or getting to know you is like a movie for a girl. The sex is like the last 5 minutes. It's the climactic part of the movie. It's the best part, but it doesn't mean anything without the whole movie leading up to it. So as a guy, we'd love to like fast forward to the last 5 minutes, just be like, let's just go straight to the sex. For a girl, it doesn't make sense that way. She wants the experience of the movie. So it's your job as a man to give her that. So that's why it's so important to do that thing that Jeff does and say, it doesn't really matter either way, because I'm going to have a good time, and that's what really matters, right? And then she, in the actual clip in Jeff's hot seat, she goes, where do I sign off? Like, where do I check, say, I agree to all of the above? Right, so that's a pretty strong indicator that you can pull. But that's the vibe you want to have, and that vibe is all throughout that pull scenario that I just told you that I do on day 2s. It's all like, I'm just living my life. In this case, it's not, I'm going to have a good time either way. It's, I have to handle this business thing either way, but I'm enjoying getting to know you. Different frame a little bit. But it's, I'm not doing this to fuck you. I'm doing this because I have these things to do, but I want to keep you with me. I want to continue this good vibe, continue this interaction. So that's how it should appear. Couple other little techniques or little things that are really important about the pulling scenario, like what to do in terms of how to actually execute. Obviously, I told you about SCO, which is being assumptive and going with it. Next one is baby stepping. You don't say, do you want to go home with me? By the way, there are certain things that are red flag words. Do you want to go home with me is a red flag word. Do you want to go to my place? Red flag word. If you say, let's go fuck, obviously anything that's too sexual can be a red flag. So you want to avoid those kind of things. Another great story. This is from Tyler from years and years ago, like probably like 2003 or something, like really long time ago. We were in New York, and he was on a boot camp with a couple students, with a student and 2 girls, and they were pulling. And they all got in a taxi together, and they were going to go back to the student's place, because at the time we didn't really have like nice lodgings and whatnot. So we're going to take the girls back to the student's place. And so Owen had convinced the girls, you know, we're going to go watch a movie together. It's going to be cool. They were all down to go. And then he sat in the taxi where he was in the back, and the 2 girls were on either side of him, and the student was in the front, because he wanted to keep the girls, like, the vibe good, and he felt like he was better for that than the student. So student's in the front of the cab, and Owen says to the student, tell the taxi where to go. Right? At this point, the student should have just said like 54th and Park or whatever the fuck the address is, right? But what he did instead, he turned around and he said, I'm giving him directions to my place. And the girl's like, no, we can't go to your place, can't go to your place. Even though it's like 3 a.m. and they're going to go see a movie. Where the fuck do they really think they're going to go see a movie, right? But even though they've already agreed to it, as soon as they hear the words my place, your place, something that elicits sex, then that automatically makes it a situation where they can't do it. So they go, no, we can't go to your place. And then Tyler's like, no, we're not going to go to we're going to go see a movie, no big deal, whatever. And he says to the guy, tell him where to take us, right? And the student kind of turns around, gets ready to talk to the taxi driver, like looks confused, turns back around and goes, so I'm telling him like where my apartment is, right? And he was like, no, we can't go to your apartment, can't go to your apartment. And he says, no, calms him down, and this time it's like a big effort to calm him down. They're getting pretty freaked out. He says, no, we'll just chill out. We'll get some snacks. I'm hungry. Talks him into this whole other game plan, and says, okay, tell them the street address of the cross streets, right, of where we're going. And the student goes, I'm confused. The cross streets to my place, and the girls are like, pull over, we're getting out, and they get out and they leave. Don't go home with them because of the red flags. Okay, so you want to avoid that. It will screw up your pull every single time. So you want to avoid that, avoid the red flags, make it just happen, make it not a big deal. All right, so now you're leaving the club. You need to have a game plan of where you're going to go. Wherever you live you should have a few things. You should know at the bars where you go out to, know some places that you can go for late night food on the way home. Better yet, places you can go for late night activities that aren't food related. A side note here, I've noticed that the food pull, it tends to be a pull killer a lot of times, at least for good pulls. So if the girl's pretty down, the girl really likes you, it has a lot of possibilities, the escalation's good, and then you take a girl for food, what you're doing now is a pull that was pretty good and the vibe was very intense, her buying temperature was high. Now you're gonna sit down in a static environment. You're gonna have like no loud music pumping. You might not be able to touch her as much because you can't like escalate that much in a diner without it being cheesy. You can kind of build comfort, but you can't really escalate, at least with the physicality. And then you're also stuck because you're waiting for the check, waiting for your food to come, and if there was a time when you'd have an optimal window to pull, but the food hasn't come yet, it's kind of awkward and it's kind of weird. So you're setting yourself up to a situation that's not conducive. So I'd much rather take her for another drink somewhere, or if you know some kind of like activity, like some kind of late night thing you can do, or a cool walk, or cool view, that kind of thing. Those are much better in my mind than the food pull. But the food pull works better than nothing. So if that's the only thing you can get them to go for, do the food pull. Sorry that my nose is so like itchy. I just got back to Vegas and the the dryness is getting to me a little bit. But so you want to do a pull where you're in control of things rather than the food pull, if possible. The one time when I will go for the food pull though is if it's a really fast pull. Like if it's you're on the street, you just met the girls, you've known them for like a minute and they go somewhere with you, but you also haven't escalated and it's not like a super sexual vibe. In that case, the food pull or something like it could be good, just because you pretty much need to put in time with the girls anyway. So the food's a great reason to put in time, you may as well do it. So on a quick pull or a pull that doesn't look that good or isn't that on, I will do the food pull. And that reminds me of one other point, by the way, which is when you are pulling, we talked about screening a little bit. So we talked about how to screen for if the pull can go down by talking about the logistics, talking about if the girl's had one night stands before, if she's traveled. The other thing that's really good is to screen sexually a little bit. Key phrase here, little bit. And this is an idea I got from Brad. He calls this giving preview. And what giving preview is, it means at one point in the set, you're going to get very physical with the girl and you're going to escalate. But you're not going to do it in a cheesy way, and you're not going to overdo it to the point where it loses the tension in the set. So if you're the guy in the club that's making out with a girl and making out with a girl, and every single time there's a chance you make out and make out and make out, she may get a little aroused, but she's also going to like feel like you're a foregone conclusion. There's no tension. Like, again, going back to the movie metaphor, she knows how that movie ends. So there's no like surprise or no can I get him? And you're now in a situation where it's like, well, do I want to get fucked tonight or do I not? Do I feel slutty or not? Right? You're also in a situation where because she's already won you in the club, there's no win for her in having sex. She's already gotten the validation, so she can kind of lose by having sex, but she can't really win. Right? So you don't want to be that guy. You don't want to over-escalate. But at the same time, you don't want to be the guy that hasn't gotten physical at all by the time you leave the club, because then you can have the platonic pull where you'll pull her home and she legitimately just wants to hang out as friends, and then when you try and get physical, she's like, whoa, what the fuck just happened? Where did that come from? So what Brad suggests, and I like it, is you do one or two like intense previews of what could happen later. So for example, you're hanging out, you're talking, no big deal, and then at some point you like grab her wrist, throw up against the wall, and like make out with her in like a very sexual way. Or like you pull her hair and say like, oh God, you're so sexy, you have no idea what I want to do to you, right? And see how she reacts to it. So you do something that's very, very sexual. But then, once you've done it, you drop off, chill out, and go back to normal conversation. Because you've already made your point, you've seeded the idea, you don't have to be the cheesy guy, and you want there to still be tension. You want there to still be some question whether she can have you or not, and you want her to want to have you. So those are the things that you want to be doing there. So the preview is very, very important. And that should be an indicator of what kind of pull you're going to have. If you've done like some intense preview and then you're leaving the club, well, that's a kind of situation where you'd want to take her to your house or near your house and get towards the actual sex stuff. If it's a situation where it's a quick set, there's been no preview, it's just been like, you know, get to know you conversation, she's coming with you because she has nothing better to do, that's a situation where the food pull or something to spend some time might be valuable. Next sort of logistical thing, when you're talking about pulling sets of more than one girl. Talking about pulling 2 sets, 3 sets, that kind of thing. In particular, pulling 2 sets, because that's a very common scenario. You want to separate the girls before you get to the place where you're gonna have sex, if at all possible. So think, because you don't want to go, there's another rule, you don't want to go backwards in the pull if you can avoid it. You're better off, if say it's gonna take an hour to get like the girls from the club and comfortable with you and then back in your place and ready for sex, you're better off spending that hour, like, or a good portion of that hour wandering around doing various activities and then getting to your place sort of towards the end of the hour than you would be if you took them straight back to your place and they got really nervous and uncomfortable because all of a sudden they're in a place with a bed and they're not ready for it. And then like they might resist, they might freak out, that sort of thing. Because if you get them to your place and they freak out and they leave, well, now it's gonna be very hard to get them back to your place. Because they've already been down that route, they know where it is. It's no longer a surprise, cool thing. So you have to sell it in a different way, and you'd also have to kind of get them to admit they were wrong to leave, right? You never want to have to get the girl to admit she's wrong. You want it to be like greased slide. It just happened. So you're better off not doing it that way. Also, say you get them to like if it's a small place like a hotel room or like an apartment or something, you have like 4 people in a living room. Now you have that awkward moment of like someone has to take someone somewhere and whatever, which I've done many, many times. It can happen, but it's not ideal. You'd be better off if you could have separated on the way home some way, if possible. So that's the next thing you want to have near your place. Ideally, you want to have some ideas of different places you could go to split sets out. Some examples are, if you're at a hotel, ice rooms are good. If you have a rooftop, that's a really good one a lot of times. I know in like big cities, a lot of apartment complexes will have like a rooftop you can go up to. Even you can take like some drinks up to the rooftop and hang out. That's a good excuse for all of you to go up there and like, hey, and then go, and then you can be on one side of the rooftop, your wingman can be on the other, you have some isolation, then one of you can walk downstairs at some point. Or you can start out downstairs and then one of you can be like, hey, come out, I want to show you the view. Those kind of things are good excuses. Another great one is if you have something that's not quite at your apartment, but close, that you can take them to. For example, at Immersion, we have the pool. We have a very, very nice public pool that's in the complex. And so that's usually my excuse to bring them back, say, oh yeah, I'll take you to my favorite place in Vegas. If they ask what it is, I say, oh yeah, it's this pool, it's really chill, it's open like 24 hours. It's like, I don't know, it's not like Cirque du Soleil amazing where you're gonna go like, oh wow, but it's just a place that I really love being. It makes me feel great, makes me feel relaxed. It's like a cool place where you can just hang out with cool people, no big deal, right? And then I take them to the pool, and actually probably the majority, I don't know if the majority, at least, probably pretty close to half of the times when I've actually pulled a girl and had sex here in Vegas, it's either occurred at the pool or started in some way at the pool, with that as an intermediate step to either gauge where they're at or oftentimes to just escalate. And that brings us to physical escalation. And the key thing here, there's a few key things, and I've talked about this in a lot of videos, a lot of people have, but 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Don't be pushy, pushy, pushy. Leave some tension, leave some gap, and allow her to kind of get used to you. And ideally, when you pull back, when you pull away from physicality, you're taking away your attention. She should feel more uncomfortable with the fact that she lost your attention than she was with whatever physicality was occurring. Okay, so that's the ideal scenario, is that, that's what goes down. So 2 steps forward, 1 step back is very cool, very important. And then the other is escalate in a place other than your apartment if possible, so that you have every possible chance of things going really well before you get there, and so that you avoid the whole like stigma of a bedroom. Right? When you get in a bedroom, a girl gets nervous. If you're outside in some cool venue where she doesn't think sex will go down, you can have sex. I've had many dates where it was actually easier to fuck a girl in the alley behind the apartment I was staying in than it was to get her up to my apartment. Because going up to the apartment would have been slutty somehow. But fucking in the alley, totally fine, because it just happened. Okay, so be aware of that. Be aware that outside of a bedroom or house is usually easier to escalate than inside. Now, you have to be careful. It's a place you're not going to get caught, and be smart about that. And then also within a house or an apartment or whatever, the like living room or kitchen or dining room is an easier place to escalate than the bedroom, because again, the bedroom puts the girl on guard. So you want to try and avoid that as well. Okay, so those are some things you kind of want to do as well. Other things with respect to escalation, you want to do it in such a way that you're leading. So, for example, think of escalation not just as arousal, but also as conveying a message. So for example, one of my favorite moves is when I kiss a girl, I like to kiss a girl in such a way that she's chasing. So I'll kiss a little, like if this was me, and this is me, this is her, I'm kissing, I'll kiss a little, and then right when she's about to go go on me, at that moment I'll pull away so she's like biting the air, right? And that makes it look like she's chasing me. It makes it look like I'm pulling away, like I'm not trying so hard to escalate, like I don't have an agenda, and it also makes her a little insecure and makes her chase. So ideally you want to be doing that where you're pulling away, not to the point where you push, get resistance and stop, but actually ideally stop before you get the resistance, and realize that usually the fastest way to get to sex is not to go quickly and hear a lot of no's, is to go slowly but not hear a lot of no's. It's like, imagine it as like, imagine the route to sex as a long city street with a lot of traffic lights. And it's like you're better off just like going slowly and hitting all the lights green than you are like hitting all the lights red, if that makes sense. It's kind of a weird metaphor because it doesn't really hold, but you get the idea. You're just better off not hearing no. Okay, so that's a lot about how to screen, how to pull, do that kind of stuff. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about some of how those themes go, some of the videos and stuff like that I have in my hot seat, and some of the other themes that kind of correlate to it and all come together. And then I'll take some questions at the end. Mario, again, if you're on there, I'm actually gonna message him and he knows. I may need your help with taking questions. So let me text him real fast. Because I do want to hear from you guys, and I do want to, like, if you guys have some good questions, some things for feedback, I would love to be able to personalize this for you as well. Okay, but yeah, so the whole like seating the poll thing, that's a new idea that I'm really trying to hammer home in the hot seat. The whole premise with my hot seat and what I'm trying to do with it is I looked at it, I'm like, what's already been done, what's not been done. And there's a lot of there's shocking footage out there, and yes, I have shocking footage. There's a lot of hot girls in hot seat, and yes, I have hot girls in my hot seat. But I don't want anything that I do, I don't want it to be just to aggrandize myself, be like, look at me, look what I did. I'm always focused on trying to teach. And so basically I came up with 7 lessons that I don't think have been taught anywhere that are the reasons why my game works. And so one of those is seating the poll, which is what I've kind of talked to you a little bit kind of on the surface about today. Other ones are how to hook every set. I have this method called FRED, focus, relevance, emotion, decision, for how to hook every set. So I'll explain that, and I'll go through set by set by set, how to hook them. What else do I have? I have invisible escalation, how to escalate without ever getting rejected. And I touched on that a little bit when I talked about how you want to pull away before there's resistance. But the other one is you always want to invite them into the escalation instead of going after the escalation. So that's another big one. How to game boring, like how to game without having to have a lot of state, and how to game in such a way that you're leading the frame. How to make girls chase you. So these are all basically different themes that I have in my hot seat. And the way it's structured is lesson, and then we have a video that explains the lesson, where I'll break it down in excruciating detail, and then we'll have other videos where you'll see the same lesson, but you'll see it in real time, but it'll be crazy because you'll actually understand it. So the first time I'll show you one of the videos, I'll be like, did you see what I did there? And everybody will be like, nope, I didn't see it at all. That was a funny revelation for me when I started watching my own footage. I'd look at what I was doing, and I'd show it to my assistants, and I'd be like, did you see what I did there? Did you see how that worked? And they'd be like, no, it looked like you were just conversing, and then all of a sudden she left with you. How the fuck did that happen? And then I'd break it down for them, and they'd see it, and they're like, holy shit, I never realized any of that was going on. But then if I were to show them another similar set that I hadn't broken down, I hadn't explained, they could understand the themes. So that's the thing is, here's the theme, here's the understanding, here's how it's broken down. Now here's another example, and you're going to understand it yourself. And then lastly, we do exercises for every single theme. We're going to do exercises right there in the room, where I'll be explaining the theme. So if the theme is how to always have something to say, I have tons of drills from improvisational comedy for that. Or if the theme is how to sexualize the conversation, I have 5 or 6 drills, how to sexualize the conversation. So the idea is that it's a totally immersive experience, as well as the video experience. Because again, I don't think the value in a hot seat is part of it is getting shocked and seeing what's possible. But a big part of it is learning to do it yourself right then and there. as well as being shocked. So that's what I'm really trying to do with that. So I really put a lot of time and attention into making sure that it's a learning experience and that I hammer home on those key points. One of the other key points that I'm really proud of is I do a long segment on how to discover a girl's blueprint. So like, for example, you ask like a get to know you question to a girl, like you say like, where are you from, right? And based on just even the answer to that, you can already start categorizing. If a girl's from a small town, there are certain factors that will be true about her, similar to how we screened for pull, right? When we find out a girl's lived in one small town her whole life, we know certain things about her sexual history, about how to game her, and we're going to use those. If we find out a girl's from a big city or lives in a big city now, we know different things about her. You find out a girl's job, well, the job itself may not tell you much, but you can start to think about like what was the life history that led someone to choose that job? How does someone in that job view themselves? And then because of that, you can understand where she derives her validation from, what her like view of the world is, and then you can cater the way you present yourself to that view. And again, I'll show you like excruciating amounts of examples of that. But like for example, one off the top of my head is that if you are, say you're an entrepreneur, like you work for yourself. Now, with a certain type of girl that's like very educated, very used to being around successful people, you say entrepreneur, say businessman, she's very impressed by that, and that works. A certain other type of girl who maybe is like from like an immigrant family that came from like a poor background where there wasn't, maybe her parents don't speak like even English in the United States. And so she's like the first person in her family to like graduate high school and go get a job. If you tell her you work for yourself, to her that means unemployed. Because she's never contemplated the idea of owning her own business. She just knew like, let me follow what the teachers say, do this path, et cetera, et cetera. So within the scope of her life experience, oftentimes, not always, like it's a stereotype, but it's a stereotype that's often right. Within that scope, you might have to ground it differently. You might have to say, you know, it's interesting because I started out this way, et cetera, et cetera. So in catering to their life experience, you're going to present yourself in a completely different way that is going to like short circuit the validation process and like really streamline getting to know the girl and conveying yourself in the best possible way. So we'll break that down too, and we'll even do like some drills for that. So again, totally immersive, totally experiential, and that's what I'm trying to do with it. And I think it's like an amazing job. You can check out the videos. Also, go over to toddhotseat.com. There are actually videos. I just did Seating the Poll with you guys. There's actually a video that goes along with Seating the Poll where, since you've seen this, if you watch that video, I think it's the third, if you go to toddhotseat.com, it's the third video in the sequence is Seating the Poll. It's a set that in Excess nightclub with this Indian girl where it's like literally textbook example of what I just showed you. And at the end, I'm like, yeah, I'll take you to my favorite place in Vegas. She's like, oh, well, you know, I'm kind of interested. I'm kind of intrigued. I'd love to see that. And it just goes down like super smooth, super straightforward. So it's a great infield clip to highlight the lesson that I just showed you guys. But then I have clips for also on there. If you go over, I have clips for finding her blueprint as well. And then I have a clip for like sort of my overall game. So those are good to look at as well if you want sort of like supplements to this. But go check them out. It's at toddhotseat.com, and like it's 5 free videos that are fucking amazing, like the best infield I've ever shot. So definitely check that out as well. All right, I would like to, if I can, take questions. I'm gonna try and find out right now if there's a way that I can do it. Let me text Mario real fast. Stay tuned for 2 seconds. It might be quiet, but I am gonna get to questions in a sec. Where's private chat? Nice. Okay. So what we're gonna do is Mario's been looking at the questions, and he's gonna send some of the relevant ones my way. So I'm gonna take the chat from him, and then I'll start answering them. Give it about 2 seconds, and we will get to your questions ASAP. Okay, this is a very good question. Actually, this is actually a question I get asked a ton in one shape, one form or another. How do you apply all that theory in field without being in your head? Okay, that's actually really key. And what I do is I don't apply all that theory in field without being in my head. What I do is I make a decision. I make one of two decisions. I decide to either be good or to learn. And then I also make a decision what specifically I want to work on that time. So, and this is actually a good thing that I talk about in Hot Seat as well. I do a lot of like how to train these skills, because again, we do drills, but also how to train them philosophically. But so what I will do is on a given night, say that my sticking point is, say, seating the pole. Say that's my sticking point. Well, then a drill for seating the pole might be I will go out and I will try and move a girl around the venue as many times as possible, just as an exercise for myself. Because I know the more times she moves around, the more likely it is she'll move home with me, right? And that's the only thing I'll focus on. Other than that, I'm just gonna game my normal way, have as much fun as possible, and try and be very focused and very present in the moment. But I will keep in the back of my head, I'm moving the girl around a lot. But what I don't do is focus on 10 things at once, because yeah, you can't do that. If you're focused on move the girl around and misinterpret and do this and do this and do this, yeah, now you will be in your head. So you don't want to put this all together in a practical sense all at once, because it's too much to think about. It's like, imagine like when you start driving a car, how overwhelmed you felt to know, like especially like say if you start driving, you haven't even driven and you're driving like a stick shift. So you're thinking like, look at the mirrors, drive the foot here, clutch here, hand, and check that mirror, and what's going on, and turn signal. It's too much at once. But if you focus on one thing at a time and get a controlled environment, ideally hopefully a parking lot or something, where you're driving a car, but in this case just in the field, and you just understand that you're going to fail sometimes. And then you learn one little bit of it, and then the next little bit, and the next little bit. And now, once you've pieced it all together, you're at a point, like again with that car metaphor, where you drive to work and you don't even remember the drive, because everything's second nature to you. So you just have to kind of respect that process and the learning. And moment to moment, you will always do better by doing what seems natural to you, by not censoring yourself and just saying, fuck it, I don't care, than you will by being in your head. However, the problem is if you're never in your head at all, then you don't learn. So what you want to do is minimize the in your headness, but allow it a little bit. Another great drill for it though is to allow yourself to be in your head at the start of the night to practice, and then at the end of the night just have fun. Okay? So maybe do, like say if you're doing the move the girl around drill, be like, okay, for the first couple hours I'm moving the girl around. After that, I'm just going to do my normal set, and then I'm going to assume that that'll be a little more ingrained in me, and we'll do it later. The move a girl around drill you might actually want to do later in the night as well. But say if it's like sexual misinterpretation, you're like doing that at the start of the night really, really hard, and then at some point you'll decide that like, okay, well now I'm just going to have fun and let it loose and let it be. And then you just do the best that you can. All right? So that's kind of how I stay out of my head with that. The other way that I stay out of my head personally, and this may or may not work for you, but it works really well for me, is that the reason people get in their head a lot of times is they're focused on the outcome. They're focused on trying to make it work. If instead of focusing on making it work, you're focused on trying to learn, and then you become very present in the moment of trying to learn, that can actually work, and it makes you less reactive, less needy. It sorts out all those things for you. So that's actually what I do too, is I actually love the game for its own sake. I love the idea of learning game. I love the idea, like I'm a pickup theory junkie, and I'm a pickup practice junkie. And so if there's a new technique or new thing I can try out and go have fun with, that keeps me out of my head in and of itself, because I'm playing with the new idea. And instead of thinking, oh, I hope this girl likes me, I'm thinking, oh, what are the interesting little things I can do with this new idea? And it's not even about the girl, it's about me and me having my own fun. So that in and of itself keeps me out of my head as well. Let's see. Okay, so LMR question. The question is, I've had a couple girls give LMR saying, I don't want to do anything I'd regret later. How would you handle that? Well, so the first thing with LMR, and the most important thing with LMR, is to realize that last minute resistance does not occur in the bedroom. I mean, well, first of all, I told you like it's easier to pull to a place other than the bedroom. So that actually it literally doesn't occur in the bedroom. But what I mean is, it occurs in the bedroom, but it occurs from the first moment of the set. It doesn't just occur in the bedroom. So all these things that I do of like covering the exits, giving the excuses first, doing all those kind of things, where I will say, I don't want to do anything, I'll write in the morning. Or I will say, I have to get up early in the morning. I will say, I want us to take it slow. Or, you know, I've hooked up a lot in my life and I'm just kind of over it. I'm at a place where I'd much rather just like cuddle with you, that kind of thing. So if you're saying all those things first, she can't say them, because if she does say them, then you just say, oh yeah, I just said that. Why are you being weird, right? So preempting it and structuring things ahead of time to avoid LMR is how you best deal with LMR. Now, if you do get LMR in the bedroom, which you will anyway, then yeah, understand you're gonna have to deal with it in the normal ways. But ideally, it will already sort of like be taken care of to a large degree beforehand. The other thing for LMR is when you do get to a bedroom, or better yet, like a couch or outdoor, like an escalation environment, where it's less creepy and less of a signal that sex could happen, take the escalation extremely slow. If I get a hint from the girl, or like a vibe from the girl, there's going to be LMR, and like, after 14 years, I'm pretty good at sensing that, but you kind of know anyway, even if you haven't been in the game that long. If you're getting that vibe, take it super slow and think tease, 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 tease. There's a great post from one of my immersion students. His forum name is Redbeard. It's called like the cloth condom. I think you should be able to search that on RSD Nation. What he basically says there, it's all about teasing. It's all about, he says, like, I won't finger a girl and I won't go down on her because I don't want to give her what she wants. I want to just go very, very close and psychologically make her want it until she actually begs for it. And it's a really good post, really, a lot of good like sort of LMR technique in it. But the most important thing about that post is the philosophy, which is it's not about just going after what I can get as fast as possible. It's about teasing and making her ask for it. Because if you do that, then you're going to avoid a lot of the LMR and handle the LMR a lot more smoothly. So it's about structuring things in such a way that you don't hear the hard no's. So again, that's done before you get to your place, but it's also done when you get to your place by being very slow and making the focus not on I want to get laid, but on the focus on I want her to beg me to have sex with her. Now, a lot of times she's not going to literally beg, but the closer you come to that, the easier you're going to be with all the LMR stuff. Okay, so another LMR question. In an LMR situation, do you do a pre-freeze out, or rather offer more comfort? What is your opinion? So let's talk about this idea. It's something that I mentioned it in my manifesto, but I haven't mentioned it in this webinar. It's one of my like 2 nuclear techniques for LMR. And basically, what I will do is, if it's a situation where I feel like things aren't going to necessarily go down, but it's going pretty well. What I want to avoid is, there's what I call the point of no return in last minute resistance. A point of no return is the place where if it goes further, and then you don't have sex with her, she'll freak out and never see you again. So like if you're just like casually talking and making out a little bit, but it's a pretty chill, relaxed vibe, and then she ends up leaving on a good note, there's a pretty good chance you'll have another date with her. But if you are like making out, and then you get super aggressive and like ram your hand down her pants, and she's like, no, and like leaves right then, there's a pretty good chance she's never seeing you again. Even though you escalated further, and in theory, she might have even liked you more, okay? And it's because you went past the point of no return, and then you failed at having sex. If you go past the point of return and have sex, the sex itself becomes such a good bond between you that usually you'll see her again. But at point of no return and no sex, it's weird because if she comes back, she has to sort of admit to herself she's coming back for sex, which is really slutty for her. And she also has to like sort of admit she was wrong to leave. So that doesn't really help you very much. You want to avoid that. So if I get a sense that I'm going to get past that point of no return in LMR, but I'm not going to have sex, what I'll do is a preemptive freeze out, which is, for example, say you're on the bed making out with a girl. It's going really well, but you don't sense it's on. And it's getting to the point where she's starting to like reach her hands up and like, you know, like try and take your clothes off, or she's starting to kiss back really hard or pull your hair, but you still just sense it's just a little off. What I'll do is I'll be like, hey, hold that thought. And I'll go in the next room, and I will go and just like go grab a glass of water for both of us, or I'll go use the restroom or something like that. And then I'll just let it chill for a second, and then I'll come back in, and then instead of going back and picking up where I left off, I'll go like sit on like the other side of the bed far away from her, or I'll sit even on the chair next to the bed or something like that, and make her kind of wonder why I'm not escalating, because I clearly had permission to escalate. She didn't say no, but I'm backing off. And so now instead of being that needy guy who's trying hard to have sex with her, I'm the guy who's just chilling and having a good time. And if anything, she's like, why isn't he trying to have sex with me? Did I do something wrong? Did I fuck it up? And a lot of times it'll be like, I'm sorry, are you okay? Did I say something wrong? That kind of thing. And you're just like, no big deal. Why would you think that? Like it's no big deal, like you weren't even contemplating sex, etc. And then at some point you'll just hop back on the bed, like for whatever decent excuse in the conversation, and then you go back to it. But the fact that you took that time, the fact you were patient, the fact you were non-needy, and the fact that you made her a little bit wonder if you even wanted her, that'll do massive, massive things for your ability to get through that point of no return and actually get through the LMR. So I really do recommend that. However, the other option given was build more comfort, and I recommend building more comfort ahead of time, because that move by itself does build comfort, by the way, too. But I recommend building more comfort and being more slow about the pull. If the girl likes you and there's no time constraint, like sometimes she has to get back to her friends in a certain period of time, you just have to like go at it quickly. But if she likes you and there's not a big time constraint, I will take my time and build more comfort than necessary. I think in New York and LA, where I presented like little hot seat previews, I gave a little bit of my footage. I did this. I showed this set where basically I met a girl in the mall and pulled her home in like under an hour, and it was actually a situation where I had my bisexual girlfriend, who I go out and hunt threesomes with, was actually staying at my place. So I had to take her to a different apartment in like the immersion complex. And do some stuff with her there, but I was supposed to be back to meet up to go out to the club with my bisexual girlfriend at a certain time. So I had to pull the girl really fast. So I pulled her really like faster than I should have even. And I mentioned that in the hot scene. I kind of pointed out, and it's an amazing set. Like I pulled this hot girl back, and it was a really good set. But I really feel like from a pure like game artistic standpoint, it would have been a higher percentage to take a little more time getting her home. Instead of getting her home in like maybe an hour and a half it would have been better to like take about 2 to 2.5 hours, and then it would have been like a no resistance type of a situation, because it would have built more comfort. And I think that's a good way to play it if that's an available option to you. So I think both are very good, and both kind of work for the same way, in the sense that you're building comfort, you're being the non-needy guy, you have an opportunity to escalate, and you're not taking it. There's a lot of value in that if the girl is made to see it. If the girl is made to see that, that's the case. How to do it not getting hard. Let's see about this. We can talk about the wing girl thing a little bit. The interesting thing about doing the threesome game, and I have a little bit of threesome game in my hot seat, and I'm working on some more. I actually have my bisexual girlfriend's coming into town in 2 days, so we're gonna go probably shoot some more stuff as well. But basically, it comes down a lot to your relationship with the girl and getting along with her. For me personally, the easiest way to pull a threesome, because my game is really good, would be to go get a girl into me all by myself, bring her back to my wing girl, and then like just say, hey, let's go. But the problem with that is that doesn't really work for girls, because girls need the experience with someone, as as a guy, we look at a girl and we think to ourselves like, she's hot, I'd fuck her, or she's not hot, I wouldn't fuck her, and it's pretty much that. But for a girl, they want the experience, they want the history, and they want to be involved in the process. And so when you do that, you're throwing the two girls together with no process. So a lot of times they won't like each other, even if your wing girl's really hot. And sometimes the other girl will be down just because she's so down for you that she's down for anything. And you can even couch it by saying, hey, here's the deal. If you want to be with me, you have to get with my girl. And that can work for sure. But what I found is it's better for overall enjoyment if the girl gets involved in the process. Now, with that said, couple things. You opening as the guy, I think, makes a big difference, because otherwise, when the girl brings the other girl over to you, or you're brought into the conversation, you're kind of on the level of chode. Even if you're like a good-looking guy, you're cool, whatever. You're kind of on the level of like the guy who couldn't do the approach himself, or the guy that like is the charity case that the girl will hook up with you just to hook up with the girl, but you're not that cool of a guy. But if you do the open and you open strong, then I think that does a lot. And the other thing that it does with opening strong is it grandfathers you into the set. Because you started it, the girl can run the set with the other girl to a large degree, and you won't be like X'd out of the set. So then at that point, they can talk a lot, and they can even escalate on each other, and you just being present and being the one who brought them together and being vouched for as like, you know, the cool guy, the boyfriend, you're in a much better spot there. So I do think that it's very important that you open, and that in some way that you show some form of intent very early in the set so that they don't think you're just a chode. Now, I've heard from a lot of other guys that do wing stuff that it's good if the girl does the escalation because girls can escalate easier. But I can only speak from personal experience, and my personal experience has been that it's much easier for me to escalate. And that might be that the particular girl that I go out with a lot, she's incredibly conversationally good. She's probably more like conversationally witty and like and better at just general like small talk conversation than I am. Like she's like, she can approach anyone, friends with everyone in high school. She's great in that regard, but she's a little more timid in terms of the escalation. So what we do personally is that she does a lot of the content of the set. Like they'll talk and talk and talk, and then I'll just like listen, throw in my 2 cents here and there, and then I'll do the escalation. I'll do the creepy parts of the set, so my girlfriend doesn't have to be the creepy one. But it tends to be pretty easy because the vibe's really good and the vibe's really there, and because she can keep talking me up and making me look like an amazing guy once I've done it the right way. Funny enough, the big obstacle that I've found, getting the girls to like you is really easy. Making out with the girls is really easy. Logistics are the hard part, because a lot of times a girl will be very okay with a girl going home with a guy, like her girlfriend going home with a guy, because that's pretty normal. I mean, like, obviously, they're not always okay with it. We do get a lot of cock blocking with that, too. But when it's going home with a guy and a girl, that's harder for the girl to explain to her friends, and it's harder for the friend to accept. So for the threesome game, if you can get the girls away from her friends early in the set, that's really, really helpful. And if you can even find girls that are kind of on their own, or like not with their friends, or you can even do day twos for threesomes. That kind of stuff is really easy. Day two is like fish in a barrel, easiest thing ever. So those are good ways to do it as well. But that's some quick tips. Obviously, I could go a lot more in depth, but off the top of my head, some good stuff. Last question I'll take is how to pull during day game. The biggest thing there, day game and night game, they're the same. Okay, they're not actually identical, but like 90% they're the same. So anything that you would do in night game, you can do in day game. There's just a little bit less escalation, and you first of all, there's less escalation that you can get away with because people around you will expect less. Like if you are like making out with a girl in the middle of the mall, people will be like, "Ooh, get a room" and shit like that. Whereas in a nightclub, people are like fine with it. So because of the experience that's going to create for the girl, you don't want to escalate that much in that public spot, but also you don't need to as much in that public spot. So the day game pull, it tends to be less physical and less aroused and more just we're cool people, we like hanging out. And usually for a day game pull, there's going to be an intermediate venue. Most of the times when I pull during day game, it's not like I talk to a girl and then I like 5 minutes, go straight to my apartment and fuck her. Most of the time it's like talk to the girl, go take her for a quick drink or a smoothie, go sit down with her for a little bit, and then take her to my place. Because you want to put in that time and just like let her get to know you a little bit. Because it's a lower buying temperature environment. So your set's going to be more based on her being intrigued by you, liking you as a person, having some level of like sexual intent and arousal that's sort of like boiled up over time as opposed to just spiked up in 1 second. So that's a little bit different. But as far as how to pull, it's the same thing. It's just like, you find out the logistics, right? Like same stuff we talked about in this webinar. It's a good review actually for the whole webinar. So what are you going to do? Okay, you're going to screen the logistics, right? In this case, it's not necessarily like who are your friends because oftentimes she's alone, but it'll be where are you going right now, what obligations you have for today, do you stay near here, that kind of stuff. So same logistical stuff. You're screening how down she is. You screen her history. And you're judging the whole thing and deciding whether it's worth it. Also in day game, you usually want to move it around very quickly. I hate that most guys doing day game will stand in the middle of a mall talking to a girl for half an hour. That's retarded. You would never do that with a girlfriend. You would never do it with a friend. Once you guys like each other, you should be onto some activity, whether it be walking somewhere, going to go get a smoothie together, going to go get coffee, tea, going to go see something, whatever it is, or just at least sitting down somewhere and acknowledging that the two of you are together, as opposed to it just being like a pickup situation. Good pickup should not look like pickup. That's another huge theme on my hot seat, how to make pickup not look like pickup. Like when I'm with a girl in a club or any environment, guys don't come into my sets, guys don't steal my girls. And it's not because I'm like so intimidating or alpha or because the girls are even that into me, but it's because my sets don't look like pickup. They look like the girl's been with me for forever. And for that reason, like nobody steps in on it. I just like am given free reign to do whatever I want. So you want to make that happen early on. But then as far as seating the pool, it's all the same stuff. It's like, yeah, we're gonna go somewhere lovely. You'll love it. If you don't, you can leave. And either way, I'm having a good time. All the same themes apply. And so that is basically same stuff. Just giving yourself permission is probably the biggest thing, okay? So yeah, that's really good questions actually, guys. I really appreciated those. Definitely check out the Hot Seat page, toddhotseat.com. There's really good videos there. Check out the videos. They will inspire you. They will they will motivate you. They're structured in a way that I wanted every video that I put out for Hot Seat to be a great learning video. So they're new lessons that have never been seen in pickup, and they're illustrated right in front of you. So definitely go check that out. And I hope to see you guys at my free tours when I come around from city to city. Come out, say hi, and hopefully at the Hot Seat as well, and maybe even boot camp or immersion. So anyway, thank you guys all for coming out. I really enjoyed it. I appreciate it, and I will talk to you guys again soon in one form or another. Thanks. Take care.